Well, it feels great to be here on This Morning on ITV, and we ask the big questions every day concerning how to get it right, most especially when we have a government that should be looking into, tackling the issues and challenges facing the country. Everybody has got his own wahala, and a point where you see those who are barricading those that are protesting from protesting, and then later on you see that they have another turn in their lives that will make them say what is good for the goose is good for the gander becomes topical. Well, just what transpired, in Abuja, the FCT, where police retirees under the auspices and aegis of the Police Retired Officers Forum came out to protest their exit from the police contributory scheme, a pension scheme, and that again has been passed as a bill by the National Assembly last year, December 4th, and of course given assent, transmitted for assent by the President on the 16th of March. And it's expected that the President would really give his assent on that, and that basically became the reason for the retired police officers to embark on a protest. Well, it's quite heartwarming when we have a government, that looks into the interest of the citizenry, but it becomes otherwise when protest is now used as the very relevant and significant tool to make demands from the government. Good morning. My name is Philip Omo-Gubo, and I'm being joined by my co-anchor, Anolu Aposteves. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Philip. Great to be here.
Well, great to have you this beautiful morning, and
Right.
A lot on my mind, most especially when those who barricade people from protesting eventually see that there's a need for them to be in that category. Like they say, what is good for the goose is good for the gander.
It's good for the gander, right? But even though, if we take a critical look at the number of years these guys claim or they have spent in service, 35 years for some of them, just maybe they were not part of those persons who actually stopped some of the civilians or tear gassed some of the civilians from having a peaceful protest, just maybe because yesterday in Abuja, and I'll also like to put it out there that this is not the first time. Sometimes last week also, we saw them stage a protest, a peaceful protest demanding for their right, because on Thursday we talked about it, keenly on TMI, and yesterday, shockingly, I saw retired police officers and their families stage another protest, this time around blocking the entrance of the presidential villa in Abuja. Now, what are their demands? They are demanding for the removal of the Nigeria Police Force from the contributory pension scheme, which they have described as fraudulent, illegal, inhumane, and of course obnoxious. And it's really, really sad that we are seeing men who have spent 35 years in service, stage a peaceful protest to demand for their rights. Some of them are actually alleging that they are being paid 24,000 naira, as the case may be. Now, according to them, they went further to say that the protest was aimed at urging President Bola Tinubu to assent to the police exit bill passed by the National Assembly, just as you said, on December 4th and transmitted to the presidency on March 16th, 2026. Now, let us hope that this interesting act that they have done would actually, get the attention of the president and allow him to do the needful and answer to them moving forward.
Well, in a sane society, it's expected that when you make contributions to a scheme, at the time that it's expected that you get it back, that you really get it back. But a situation where you can't really trust the process, you can't really rely on the fact that what you are expecting at any point in time T, you're going to be getting it, brings a whole lot of headaches, and we don't need all of this anyways. That'll also take our minds back to what the 2023 general elections also came with, and a lot of Nigerians or the electorate expected much from the 2023 elections. But again, that is another reason for which there are demands on the government and of course stakeholders and the electoral umpire to make sure that there is an encouragement for the electorate to pour out en masse for the 2027 elections, most especially when voter apathy is actually taking dominance. So we look at what transpired in the previous election in the FCT
Right.
for the
The
area
local
councils,
government, yes.
where the voter turnout was really ridiculously low. And so if we are going forward with this, how would the 2027 election be? Well, joining us on this from the Abuja studio, we have Dominic AMSA. Good morning, Dominic.
Good morning, Philip. Good morning, my colleague there, Anu Oluwapo. It's quite an exciting morning to be with you on the program. Of course, the table has been set for us to dish out what we have for our esteemed viewers there, talking about current affairs. You guys have already started on the good note. The protest in the FCT yesterday by the retired police officer is the one that has been a very disturbing scene, because you see people who have served the country for 35 years and then coming back to beg for what truly belongs to them, beg for their rights. It's bad. When you see, just like you mentioned earlier, these are persons who are protected, people who have been protesting before. Now you're being protected for protesting. For them to take their protest to the presidential villa, it means that this time they want the president to listen to their plight if the Nigerian police force have not been able to resolve the issue. The issue of pension cut across different sectors, not just the military or the police force. Even in private sector, there are people who suffer so much that at the end of their retirement, they don't really get what they deserve in terms of their contribution. It is a law that every organization, when you have particular numbers of employees, that you should be able to contribute to that pension scheme. But what we've seen now, especially what the police officers are claiming, or the retired police officers are claiming, like Anu mentioned earlier, is sharing around fraud. And I believe that the president would definitely look at the bill that was passed last year by the National Assembly, trying to remove the police from that contributory pension scheme and make sure they have theirs, just like we have in the military. You know, the military has its own military pension, but I have not seen that issue happen. A long time ago, we used to have military retirees in the FCT. You go to Area 3, sometimes in Area 3, see them sleeping around under the bridges, but that has been taken care of, and we want a repeat of that for the Nigerian police also. But don't forget, in the FCT also, teachers are currently on strike, especially those under the payroll of the FCT and the area councils, over demands for unmet demands that they made with the FCT. So currently, schools resumed for the third term yesterday, but in the FCT, most teachers and most students are staying at home. So we're calling on the FCT minister to look into this and see how we'll be able to get the students back to school. It's too early for them after spending about a month at home, and then you're asking them to stay back at home again because of differences between the government and the union. But we just hope that that issue will be resolved very soon for them to return back to school. Philip, that's my take on the opening.
Thank you so much, Dominic. Like what they always say, give us what belongs to us. We need it. It's our right. We don't need to beg for it. And again, we look at the aspect of demands in form of protest, everyone coming out to say it's our right. You asked the big question about what saga do we always have about pension schemes, and why doesn't it always work? Because everyone is in this whole issue where after your long service and you're expected to get something very, purposeful and resourceful for you at your old age, you don't see it forthcoming. Well, again, some have asked this very basic question. Why is it always, why does it seem almost impossible for the government or the president to quickly sign into law such bills, just like the president did to that of the Electoral Act Amendment 2026? Well, I think I'll just leave in a test on your test board. Patricia Gabriel, good morning.
Good morning, Philip. It's good to see you on the screen this morning. Well, if I heard you clearly, we're talking about the retired police officers who are demanding their rights. It's just so fair that their pension should be paid to them. They have served the country, and it is time to sit down and rest from, you know, so many years of serving and protecting lives and properties in Nigeria. So it's just so fair that the federal government quickens the payment of their pensions. And just like you said, why is it being difficult for it to be passed that their pensions should be paid? Well, I don't know. The federal government, the president, I mean, it's the president that had promised us a whole lot of things, and this one of them. He should look into it quickly and be able to resolve this problem so they don't keep being on the street to protect. It's becoming quite embarrassing that retired police officers are always, or every day, almost every other day, on the street protecting for their rights. Anyway, from Lagos, we're going to be looking at insecurity. Insecurity cannot be less discussed because it's becoming so rampant, and especially now that it's moving waves to the children. And so we're going to be looking at the insecurity and safeguarding Nigerians' future. They say the children are the future of this country. So we're going to be taking a look at safeguarding the Nigerians' future in the actions that have been taking place now, especially what happened in Benue State and Calabar, where the children were going for the JAMB exams and were kidnapped. Anyway, in Benue State, we heard that they have been rescued, and kudos to Nigerian police who swiftly took action and rescued those children. But we're also going to be discussing insecurity in general, and to do that, I'm going to be having some analysts come on board later to discuss.
That shows that we've got much on our plate today, cutting across the studios at Abuja, of course, Lagos and Benin. Well, if we are to make a demand from the president, because they say he who mother cooks in the kitchen will never starve. Mm-hmm. I borrow a little from what the president did, most especially as regards to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill that was given assent to by the president. Mm. The speed at which it was passed and the speed at which it was given assent to, can't we have same for the contribution schemes?
Well, some persons would say I don't think it's just the president itself. Remember, there was one time on this table we talked about the speed at which the Senate passed in a loan proposal, and that got a lot of Nigerians talking. I think it was within the space of 4 hours. Mm. And every single time on this table, it seems to a lot of Nigerians that when it comes to what affects the elites, what affects them in power, they tend to attend to it as soon as possible. But cases where it's you and I, it's the masses, we get to see elongated, activities, series of meetings and counter meetings, and then you ask yourself a big question: why? Why do we have that pattern and that tradition reoccur every single time? But away from that, let's not also forget the welfare of our security officials is very, very paramount. And then a lot of Nigerians would wonder why I would see people mount roadblocks and collect their own, stipend. I would love to put it that way, even though it is not. And perhaps it's because of things like this. Because for those in office now, I'm sure some of them will be thinking of their post-service era and how it's going to be for them. Would they have to also go out on the streets to demand for their own rights? It's not as if they're begging for money. It's what they have earned, what they have worked for. How about you just give it to them? And then you also wonder why a lot of Nigerians do not want to get into the system or be part of the security architecture in the country. Every single time on the news we hear cases of people begging for persons who are interested to join the police force, to join the army, and we do not even see that happen. So, I feel like this is one of the major reasons, or some of the reasons why we have that every single time. Now, I also love us to talk a little bit about about the voter apathy, because it seems to a lot of Nigerians, and it seems to me that some persons are not even aware that the CVR, the registration is ongoing. I feel like we're not even having more of that sensitization in our public spaces. The National Orientation Agency, I don't know how far they are working on that. Right now, a lot of Nigerians are just caught up in the web of the hardship, the economic hardship that we are currently facing, the complaint online and offline.
You just answered the question.
Right, because interestingly, yesterday I saw someone who was actually calling out to Nigerians to say, you know what, your vote actually would work. Voting is key, because a lot of the times we've been discouraged and made to believe that voting doesn't work, and I mean, this is how it starts. So a situation where you're not even interested, when you don't have that will, the zeal to participate in governance, and then you leave it for the minority to anything you see, you better take it like that moving forward.
Well, they say it takes less Moses to smile than to frown, but you ask why Nigerians are always frowning, most especially if you look at the efforts that
you don't frown.
It shouldn't take, because actually it shouldn't take efforts.
Right.
To smile. So why do we have to make more efforts to frown? You answered the question basically when you spoke about, you know, economic hardship, and of course all that is really coming upon the citizenry, most especially where we don't need to really beg for our rights.
Absolutely.
Your rights should be given you, and if you've served for a huge number of years, 35 years, and you are demanding or seemingly begging for your rights to be given what belongs to you, that becomes a very big issue, topical issue to talk about. And again, the voter apathy we keep experiencing. We had a divergent, we had a very different, you know, emergence in 2023 general elections, if you remember, you know, where the obedient movement and of course the Labour Party's, you know, presidential candidate garnered over 6 million votes and outperforming previous, you know, third, fourth candidates. Again, can we have that repeat itself, or even on a larger scale? Well, it's possible because the way things are, basically you look at the weakened oppositions and of course the process through which the court is making sure that, you know, find a way for them to breathe or for them not to breathe. I don't want to comment on that. That again could also challenge the electorate to come out to make sure that the vote count. Because if we refuse to pull our efforts in the electoral process, then we give room for some charlatans and miscreants in the political circle to continue to manipulate and then, you know, bring about discouragement in the process, and then we have bad governance. If we want to stop having bad governance, it's upon the electorate to dot the I's and cross the T's and come out en masse and on the election.
Absolutely.
But can we have it in 2027?
Well, only time will tell. I honestly believe that even the obedience movement at this point are not even sure of what is going to play out in 2027. I mean, even the ADC camp right now, there's been a whole lot of talk about, is it consensus? How they're going to get their, you know, their aspirant for the election come 2027. The other time, yesterday, a couple of days ago, we saw Peter Obi going to meet Rotimi Amaechi, and rumors had it that he went to beg Rotimi Amaechi to step down for him to, you know, clinch that presidential ticket. And then we heard that Rotimi Amaechi said he wants to participate and join in the race. Atiku also said the same thing. So it's a whole lot of things. Are we going to see a new bride perhaps in the system moving forward with just the limited periods that we have? Remember that INEC has said that the political parties in Nigeria just have from now up until the end of May to conduct their primaries and bring out their, you know, political appointees for the 2027 general election. And now we're also seeing feelers that PRP, the political party, is saying, hey, ADC bigwigs, how about you come into our party if you feel that the ADC is no longer conducive for you anymore? So there's a whole lot of things to talk about as we move over to the 2027 general election.
Okay, thank you so much. A lot has been said, just as we want to make sure that we have a very varied democratic process, electoral process come 2027, and the need for us to have a very, very healthy, opposition. We don't want to see situations that emanated at the Central Africa country, Congo, where you keep having the president over 42 years in office, that's spanning over 4 decades. Neither do we want to have that is sitting on the Horn of Africa, Djibouti, where you have Omar Gule, who also running for the victim. And the issue here is they left the opposition weakened, fragmented. That shouldn't be our story in Nigeria. Well, we'll take a short break, and after which we'll look at the pages of the newspapers. Tuesday.
The Ugewe is the final ceremony of the series of festivals. It is one of peace and lightheartedness, following the more solemn of the ritual year. Ugewe is the festival of the Ewe leaves, a symbol of good luck and joy. It is the most popular of all that heralds the dawn of a Benin New Year, new vow, newness of life and freshness of life and a new hope for the future. In the evening, the Ewe leaves are presented to the Oba of Benin in grand style in a colorful ceremony. The Ihogbe Society, amidst singing and dancing, bring the sacred leaves that symbolize good luck, blessings, peace, and prosperity. Each of the senior members of the Ihogbe proceeds to give the sacred leaves directly to the Oba of Benin, and others put theirs at his feet.
Well, like the saying goes, the taste of the pudding is in the eating soul. Just as the Mexican saying also goes, bon appetit. Let's dive into the pages of the newspaper today. Let's get a read of what it has. And the first is on the Vanguard newspaper. And the Vanguard newspaper, we see the very big headline. Your guess is as good as mine. It's always all about insecurity. Many terrorists and 3 soldiers killed in Kwara gun battle. This is actually, the front burner of the pages of the newspaper, where insecurity needs to be dealt with, and of course the responsibility of the law enforcement agents to tackle this headlong. We have this at the top of the cover page. It says NCC CBN launch portal to track fraudulent phone lines. That is it. And Tinubu disconnected from hardship facing Nigerians. Who is saying this? Hakim Baba Ahmed. You get that on page 9. On 2027, the big one, no talks with PROP yet. We are focused on court. And this is coming from the ADC, and you get that on page 8. And of course, we have this that says, stop running to Abuja. Governors can fix insecurity. Ex-CP Owosheni has that to say on page 14. Well, what could be the very big reason for governors to run to Abuja? Well, your guess is as good as mine. Let's look at this on the cover page still at the bottom. We have this that says, police pensioners protest in Abuja, block villa access roads. And that's been what we've been talking about. You get it on page 9. On 2027, APC pegs presidential form at 100 million naira. Primary holds May 15. Huge, you may say. And on Senate seat, Ogun East, APC leaders endorse Abiodun Ba Daniel, and many more on the Vanguard newspaper.
Away from the Vanguard newspaper, we now turn our attention over to the New Telegraph newspaper this morning, leading with insecurity, as it says terrorists place 6 billion naira ransom on victims abducted in Kaduna, Borno State. Subwriter says 1 billion naira on Ariko Easter Day worshippers, 3 soldiers, others killed in Kwara attack, 6 dead, several injured in fresh Plateau attacks. ISWAP allegedly blocks Borno Road, abducts 30 passengers. Boko Haram issues a 72-hour ultimatum over 416 captivities. Anglican bishop urges firmer action on bandits, decries killings. On page 3, 4, 27, and 29, you get details of that story. Away from that, Middle East crisis, oil prices rise as Iran rejects new talks outside Nigeria. Subwriter says Trump insists he is under no pressure to end war. Man kills 7 of his children in U.S. mass shooting. Quite sad on page 2 and 4, details of that report. Well, still on the front page of the New Telegraph this morning, APC releases 2027 election timetable, sets presidential form at 100 million naira, governorship form at 50 million naira. Says Nigeria won't return to years of regression. Subwriter says Benga Daniel Bart from Ogun APC caucus meeting. Well, I think that's all. This would allow me take on a New Telegraph this morning. Philip.
Okay, let's go over now to the Nigerian Tribune. And what do we have on the Nigerian Tribune? The big headline says how ADC presidential candidate may emerge. You get it on page 16. And United Opposition Movement to Midwife consensus option coming from a source. And on the side of the front page, we have this. It says PDP crisis, Wike calls for committee on reconciliation, and CBN wants banks to unlock $1 billion monthly diaspora inflow by year end. You get that on page 6. Forensic air report reveals Mupitan has no X account. INEX says. Imagine that. All right, still on the front page, this says APC presidential candidate to emerge May 16. NWC fixes governor primary for May 23rd. And of course, Tinubu approves 15 billion naira takeoff grant for new police academy campus in Ogun. And that's it on the Nigerian Tribune.
Okay, now let's turn our attention over to another major newspaper this morning. If we could see what's next on the screen. Right, the Daily Sun newspaper leading with an interesting one in insecurity, as it says a bloodbath in Plateau, Kwara, Benue states, which is really quite sad. Subwriter says soldiers, others killed, injured in fresh attacks. Women protest in Riam community. CDS visits troops, pledges renewed efforts against banditry in Zamfara. Gunmen kill driver, abduct passengers in Ore Benin Expressway. We saw that video trending online all over social media yesterday, and hopefully we'll have it on TMI socials this morning. Well, away from that, Boko Haram dares federal government over 416 victims in Borno. Subwriter says Kaduna Easter Day attack, kidnappers demand 1 billion naira ransom. In business news, state debt hits 4.36 trillion naira. 10 lead with 2.96 trillion naira. Away from that, Enugu women demand senatorial slots on page 29. I mean, what a man can do, a woman can definitely do it better, Philip. But away from that, on page 24, refinancing risks rise as Nigeria's debt nears 180 trillion naira. You are an umpire, not hired hitman. ADC Youth tells Amopita. Party denies talks with PRP, affirms commitment to legal battle. And finally, on the Daily Sun this morning, INEC chairman unveils report of forensic investigation on partisan X post on page 6. Well, I guess that's all we have this morning on the Daily Sun newspaper. The Punch newspaper is up next. Philip.
Okay, let's go on the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper, APC imposes 2-week deadline for presidential, governor, national assembly forms. And of course, you get that on the Punch newspaper. I'm afraid there's a bunch you can take on the pages of the newspaper. Don't forget to get to read yourself and go online, of course, go to the nearest vendor and internalize That leaves the tests on my test board, and I have many things to say. If only an Oluwapo Stevens can answer that.
What's that?
I want to regurgitate what you said
Okay.
about what men can do. Women can do better.
Of course,
There are
absolutely.
many things that women can't do
Like what?
that men can do.
What do you mean by that?
Can I say that on TV?
We'll say it on
A lot of
camera,
things.
right?
I could just go on and pull my shirt on TV, can you?
Well, what a man can do, a woman can do, but I'm going to leave it that way still.
But I will take a short break, and after which we will be looking at the first discussion from the Benin studios, where we will be looking at the countdown to 2027 and, of course, deepening voters' trust in the electoral process. Do stay.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well and avoid those risk factors that will make your immunity to be down, then the risk of contracting tuberculosis will be reduced.
If you're healthy, then you're wealthy.
ITV, certainly the best.
As we inch closely to the 2027 general election, questions are up, emanating from different corners with different shades and perspectives on the need for us to have increased voters, coming out en masse and discourage voter apathy. What could be the indices? What could be the factors that could be deployed to make sure that this comes through, just like we had in the 2023 general elections, where we had a surge in first-time voters? Can we have a repeated, even on an enlarged scale, in 2027? Well, a lot of factors do play, and mostly the electoral umpire, INEC, is also a very big factor that could be looking into this possibility. Joining me to discuss this as we count down to 2027, voters' trust and participation in the electoral process, I have with me in the studio former councillor of the Eastern Northeast local government, Ubiaja 1. He is also a businessman, Honorable Jonathan Okosun. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And also joining me via Zoom, I have a legal luminary in the person of Matthew Edegase. Good morning to you, Matthew.
Good morning, Phillips, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for being there. Well, let's look at what it is like, and of course, with the current situation, how do you see voters trusting the electoral process ahead of the 2027?
Thank you very much for having me once again. Like you said, INEC are making steps to repose that confidence on the electorate. They first introduced the use of beavers, and just this year, so there was also some reforms about transmission of results. Although experts argued about retime, but this the reposing confidence on people is something that has to be on the continuous process. So I believe that the INEC are doing great. And also, the INEC also introduced digital membership registration of political parties. This is also, include the internal democracy of the party, where during the primaries, there will no longer be ghost voters. It's a situation where you have maybe less than 100,000 members in the state, and during the primary election, during direct primaries, you see that there are also candidate scores over 200,000. So INEC were able to, to enforce a law on the political parties to register their members in the digital exercise, so that they have the numbers of the data of their members across political parties. So that is also a contribution. And people who are boycotting election are majorly the young people. That is the truth. From statistics, you will find out that it is the young people who are boycotting elections in the country. And this is so because corruption is also a major factor. Underdevelopment and leaders not performing. These are some of the issues that that make people to they are for this, they are not for us. So what's the need of voting? So, but with continuous voter education, and I believe that we'll be headed somewhere. Just like me, I'm a youth, and I represent the youth as well. So when I was here the last time, I told you how I made efforts, to say, let me make, some declarations over an aspiration, and I did all that because I also want to encourage the youth that we can better have a chance. Just yesterday, the APC released their nomination forms and says, and you saw that they slash the nomination for 50% for the youth. That's to encourage them. Like, if you feel the youth in a political party, the youth will choose party to vote. So there'll be, there'll be much participation in that exercise. Okay. So that's the.
We've seen much tension, going down memory lane, in our electoral processes. Where on the day of election, some political parties, if not all political parties, make it a lot difficult for people to come out en masse and vote. Do you see the present-day political parties, with your party inclusive, as getting ready to make sure that they allow a smooth sail in the electoral process without violence, without thuggery? Because you agree with me that political thuggery, you know, from political parties, seem a big challenge that till now we are yet to tackle headlong.
Yeah, no, thuggery in our politics is something that cannot be denied, but I believe that people are also getting enlightened, and there's no need for that for anybody. So for me as a person, I always tell our young people, when I have opportunity to engage with them, that you don't have to go kill yourself for anybody. So if somebody said is aspiring or is contesting for a position, they should bring their children to go and die in the field, not you. Because when you die, you know, you will be the person who will lose in the long run. Your families are there who will mourn your demise and all that. So there is no point in violence. I don't believe in that, and I don't encourage it. But I feel as APC, as a political party, which I am a member of the APC, like I said, the people who are boycotting election are majorly the young people. So, and if the party, one thing I can just say is that the party is not just about slashing nomination form. They should also ensure that they feed young people into offices to encourage the youth, because we constitute over 60% of the population. And the young people, because they are intelligent, they are tech-wise. So they get all this feedback like, these people, they don't want to leave power, they are there. So because of that, they don't want to vote. Okay. That is the truth. So if they begin to feed young people in our electoral processes, then you see that a lot of youth begin to, you know, come out en masse, and you know that discouragement over the years that people are boycotting elections is not something that is very nice. So, but I believe they are taking step measures to ensure that, you know, youth are, you know.
All right, thank you. In 2023 elections, mostly the presidential election, we saw a surge for first-time voters coming out, you know, to really vote in that election. And of course, we can even take a swipe on the figures credited to the former presidential candidates of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, where he garnered over 6 million votes, outperforming the previous, you know, third, fourth candidates. Now, Matthew Degase, we want to see this surge and even at a larger scale in 2027. What do you see as a factor that could make it spin in that process?
If I heard you correctly, no, the audio is not too good. Are you asking if there will be a repeat or reenactment of the 2023 political enthusiasm among the electorate? Is that the question?
Voters,
Hello?
just as we had in the 2023, do you see an increased participation of voters looking at the present situation in the country, the political development, and what do you see as a factor that could engineer this for us to have a larger scale of voters coming out en masse to participate in the electoral process come 2027?
It is difficult to predict how the people will respond to the unfolding political circumstance. The Electoral Act has been amended, and there were clamor among the electorate, the Nigerian citizens, for certain clauses to be properly included. But it appears that the system operators have their way, and the people say did not hold water. The electronic transmission of results was a major issue in that newly amended Electoral Act. Why the majority of Nigerians want the electronic transmission result to be inserted in that law, the power that they insisted that it shouldn't be so. That is already a point of serious distraction. Nobody will be interested in the process that he has no confidence in. So apathy might just be the consequence of that decision, not to do the will of the people as reflected in that law. But again, the result may be strong on the part of people that whatever the system operators are planning to do with the electoral acts, they have a stake to protect. And they may end up coming out with strong determination and resolve to make sure they play their part as electorates and cast their votes, and if possible, defend the votes as much as they could. So it is not a straightforward answer to say, yes, people will turn out en masse, or that there will be voters' apathy. It is either of those two directions. Two things could happen. Either people will be, through dogged resolve, decide to come out en masse and vote with the hope that their vote will count this time, or they get frustrated with the system and the electoral process, and so we are not going to waste our time casting our ballots when we know that the outcome is already predetermined. So whichever way, circumstance and time, we unveil the outcome.
You have the floor. We have a situation that transpired in Congo, where the president, talking about Nguoso, Dennis, emerged as the 5th president. He was sworn in as the 5th president of Congo. And we look at the antecedent that brought him there, and over 4 decades he's been in office. And the challenge there in the electoral process was that there was a boycott by political parties. Majority of the political parties boycotted that election. And of course, there was internet blackout on the day of election, which seemed to resemble that which we experienced in 2023 when the electoral umpire said there was a glitch, and so unable to, transmit election results at real time. What do you see as what the electoral umpire can do to change the narrative and make, voters, the electorate, come out en masse in the 2027 polls?
The electoral umpire, that is the INEC. The INEC in this case, they owe a duty, moral and legal duty, to be unbiased and be neutral. They should do their duty without fear of favor, without any pressure from external sources. But this is the decision that the INEC personnel, especially the chairman, has to make between doing his job without bias or pandering to the will of those who put him there, or the power that be. The decision is his to make, whether to be recorded on the positive side of history or to go the way of his predecessors, some of whom were seen as anti-people and anti-democracy. So if you want to do the needful, the right thing, the law is on his side. He should behave like an umpire and not as a partisan party. Because if you're an umpire in the game, you are to moderate. You are not to take sides. You are not to aid and abet one side against the other. So Amupitan should know that history is beckoning. If he chose to go the way of those infamous electoral umpires in the past, who walk against the people and the will of the people of Nigeria, then history will also have its place as one of those who wage a war against democracy and our political development as a nation. I do not think that is the party we choose to travel. But if he does that, it will be too sad. But if the electoral process is well coordinated without any attempt to manipulate the system, the people will be encouraged to come out and cast their ballots. And it will be a good thing for us as a people, as a nation. And it will be a sign that our democracy is growing and not truncating.
Thank you very much, Matthew Derase. Let's get back to you, Jonathan. Do you see the electoral umpire, doing enough? Comparatively, you withdraw a measure of what transpired in 2023. And of course, that which will be under the electoral umpire, under the new leadership, Mopitan. Do you see a dogged, direction by the leadership to change the narrative?
What I can say is that, you know, some reforms were made, and we need to give them the test of time to see what they can do better in the forthcoming election. You know, every election, you know, we begin to see new developments. And like I said, I want to come from the practical angle of this voters' apathy. You know, like, what are the reasons why people are not participating in elections? These are things that we need to look at critically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the issues, such as vote buying, result manipulations, you know, underperformance. These are some of the reasons why people get discouraged and be like, these politicians, they are just there for themselves, they are not for us. You know, so because of all this, people do not want to participate in election. And some other reasons include, you know, somebody being declared winner against the will of the people, those kind of stuff and all that. So these are some of the practical reasons why people are boycotting. So if we continue, if we begin to make these changes, not just within the institution, the INEC, also within the political parties. First, ensuring internal democracy of the party. And the people who are elected should be held accountable for their various offices. You know, if they are performing, for instance, we are seeing performance, people will come out to vote willingly to see this person had tried. You saw what happened in 2023 during the presidential election, how young people came out and supported Peter Obi because they believed in him at that particular time. You saw what happened, especially from the southern part of the country. So you saw the youth came, even people who were not voting, because of him, people came out. So when people begin to have this confidence, they will continue to, you know, they want to engage more in our electoral processes.
There is this impression, and of course I believe by some, that because of what transpired in 2023, the leadership under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu seems to be stifling the opposition, because like what you said, which is already in the news stream and everybody knows, you know, the performance of the presidential candidate in the elections 2023 that produced over 6 million votes. You agree with me? That was a very big scare. You know. Now, it is believed that with what transpired in 2023, there are plans by the party and, of course, the leader to plant landmines, you know, on the way of the opposition, so that they are not able to, you know, come out en masse and, you know, change the game where the president will not have the opportunity to be re-elected come 2027. What are your thoughts?
No, I don't believe in that. I emphasize on internal democracy of the party. Now, if you see the issue of the ADC, for instance, from the federal to the state level, you see division everywhere. You know, there are some groups.
That includes the landmines that we're talking about.
No, excuse me.
Some have said that these are landmines. You know, people are put there to cause confusion, to divide the party, to make it feel like it's fragmented. And that's exactly what could be happening.
From what we are saying, there were people who were leading the party before some person formed coalition and joined the party. And these people are saying that we have been managing this party and you can't just throw us out. That's why I said internal democracy. Because maybe these people do not have deep pockets than the coalition members, and they don't feel they can throw them out. So there will be issues. There will be agitation. For instance, when issue came up in my local government, when somebody has said that an election where a date has not been announced for primaries, he has already been given tickets, I had to challenge that status quo. I said, no, that cannot be done. And when I did, a lot of people started coming out to question that process, because we are emphasizing on internal party democracy. And I believe the issues the opposition are having in the country is as a result of things not done properly. Come to Edo State, you are having a factional chairman, ADC, factional chairman, this. These are issues that we need to look at. Before you start showing aspersion on other people, you know, orchestrating a division in your party, you also look at your own faults from your own end. You understand? That's why I emphasize on internal democracy of the party.
Okay, thank you. We will be taking a short break, and after which we will be standing in front of the discussion where Matthew Degasse will also be responding to some of the questions as regards the opposition and, of course, the trusts of the voters to make them come out en masse on 2027 Tuesday.
ITV. ITV, certainly the best.
Down to 2027, deepening voters' trust and participation in the electoral process is what we are on. And of course, let's get your response, Matthew Edegase. We look at what has been transpiring, you know, in some African countries like Congo, and of course, we also have that in Djibouti, you know, where there was very, very weak opposition to challenge the ruling party. And you agree with me that for competitions, for the elections to be seen as viral, the competitiveness must be effective. Do you see capacity in the opposition at present, as we speak, that could, you know, make the electorate come out en masse? Otherwise, the electorate usually do say that there's no point coming out to vote when they know that the incumbency factor will always count and always put themselves in power. But you see capacity in the opposition being built up to change the narrative for the electorate to come out en masse come 2027?
Strictly speaking, there is no real democracy without competition, without opposition. It is a game between two or more choices. If there is no choice to make, we cannot be saying we are making any democratic choice. To vote means you are making a choice in favor of one party as against the other. So where opposition is weak or non-existent, then democracy itself cannot be said to be flourishing. If for any reason opposition power is withered and they cannot even muster the will to put up a formidable alternative between which the people can make their choices as to who should represent them, then we are no longer talking democracy, we are talking totalitarianism. And that is not going to be democracy in any form. Like we have in most, some African nations, like Cameroon and the rest, where there's a seasonal, ceremonial transfer of power to those in power, by those in power, from those in power. That is not democracy, it's a mockery of democracy. But I had there before I was born, and it's still there. And that is not a reflection of the will of the Cameroonian electorate. we all know it is a period of imposition, also by imposition, and the death of opposition policies in Cameroon and those countries that are practicing those kind of systems, making jest of the concept of democracy and democratic choices. So we do not pray for that plague to befall Nigeria as a nation. Democracy is all about choice. And for that choice to exist, there must be a viable oppositions. And the way things are going, the opposition will not be able to operate with strength if the system is manipulated against their own survival. As we speak, you see all the opposition parties we have in Nigeria today are operating as an extension of the ruling party. We are beginning to see what looks like planting of proxies or moles among the opposition parties. And this mole's duty is not to make the opposition party strong or successful, but to eat it from inside, like cankerworm. And once that happens, how do you establish a healthy plant when you plant a parasite in its anatomy? All this litigation all over the place within the opposition parties, among the opposition members, it's not without the voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau. And once that has become a tradition or a norm, we are heading towards a one-party state by default. The corporation strength is the only reason why democracy will be strong. If the people are devoid of a strip of the right to of choices to make, they have no option but to settle for the one that is available. And that is how one-party state starts. It does not just start in a day. It starts through the muzzling of the opposition by the people, by the party in power. And as time goes on, the people will lose even interest in participating in democratic processes. And in the absence of people's mass participation, then tyranny and dictatorship will take roots. And with time, we'll be hearing of life presidency, adjusting, amending the constitution to make way for life presidency and life rulership, as it has taken place in places like Guinea, Cameroon, and some other pseudo-democracies in Africa. So I do not wish Nigeria that backwardness. We want to progress democratically and politically. And the only way we can achieve that is to make sure we play the game by the rules. Nobody should be looking at manipulation as a way to play politics. You manipulate the process, you're actually waging war against democracy and the will of the people. And you are not a Democrat if you don't believe in people's right to make free choices or be ready to even lose the election, if that is the will of the people. Desperation cannot be a good foundation for democratic growth. People must be willing to be democratically minded and be ready to let power go if the people say enough of you. Impose yourself against the result of the people, it's not democracy anymore. It's totalitarianism, and that is going to lead us to the dark days of civilian dictatorship as opposed to military dictatorship. And that will no longer be fairly described as democracy.
Thank you, Matthew. Matthew already said that again, and I didn't want to ask you that question because you did some justice to that some time back. But again, there are also skirmishes that need to be cleared, you know, where even Matthew spoke about the involvement of politicians, you know, into stifling the process for the opposition not to create. I mentioned the fact when I asked you that question concerning landmines, as it been speculated, deliberately being, you know, placed on the opposition so that they don't breathe as a way of tilting the country into a one-party state. But again, do you see confidence in the ruling party, your party, most especially? You may mention of the economic hardship, okay, that Nigerians are also going through, and of course, do you see, by way of body language, when you made mention of the fact that even the citizenry, you know, with the situations that they are engulfed with. They seem not to have the, the enthusiasm to come out. And what are these situations they are engulfed with? We look at economic hardship. We look at this impression of, well, they are always about themselves and not about us. Because we have to tackle this headlong. What causes this, drift by some of these youths that do not come out en masse? And majorly, there are lots of people, Nigerians, that are not satisfied with the way things are going in the country by virtue of the leadership under your party. Don't you see this as a big challenge for the party, that made it almost seemingly looking in the direction of the opposition being fragmented? And again, the governor did say of Edo State that at the time that he's going to give about 2.5 million votes, and maybe it has changed that to 3.5 million votes. Do we have capacity in Edo State to produce that number? What could be the trick or the tactic that the governor wants to deploy to have that?
Like I said internal party democracy is one of the issues that the opposition are facing, because if somebody make allegations that some moles have been planted, you might be asked to provide evidence. Somebody, for instance, somebody who has been national chairman of a party, the person has never been in the ruling party. And then some coalition came and said, you are leaving for us to not take over the leadership of the party. And when the person is now aggrieved, it's not linked to the ruling party. So there are some issues. But what I'm trying to say in essence is that even if maybe some part of the country, people planted as more, I don't know, because I cannot say what I don't know. But I think that the coalition...
Is it impossible?
No, it is possible. But I'm saying that the coalition member should also do things in the right way, follow the constitution. If you do things properly, there will be no litigations. That is the issue. And, when you talk about the system, economic hardship and all that, these are issues that have been created since 1960.
But wasn't under the leadership of your party?
No, excuse me, sir. These are issues, because what I believe is that when you take an action, there's always a consequence. Now, our democracy has been fighting corruption since independence. And this has created a lot of issues for us.
Yeah, but we're looking at the rising number. We are looking at the increase in the indices we are saying about it.
Yeah, my focus now is...
Because it was expected, like the fuel subsidy removal, for instance, the president made a big noise over it, that it has led to, an increase in, money that gets to the subnational governments. Again, what are the subnational governments at their level doing with these monies? It's expected that the plights of the citizenry will be ameliorated looking at the levels of state government, but rather it's wasn't.
I'm coming. What I'm trying to establish is that the issues that we are facing was not perpetuated by my generation. It's the generation of our fathers' fathers.
Yeah.
And the actions that they took is the consequence of what we are seeing today. Now, the younger ones who are coming should now begin to look and do things differently. And that is why I say youth engagement. It's not about slashing nomination form, but also feeding them. Because if, for instance, you have an assembly that constitutes about 50% youth, I believe they should be able to make laws that will affect, that have direct impact on the citizens. Because if we are saying that things are not right, then you know that where the issues are coming is not our generation.
Yeah.
These are issues that are accumulated over the years. We cannot deny that. So that is why I emphasize on youth engagement. And I also said that people who are even practicing voter apathy are majorly the young people. So if we begin to give them chances and opportunity to be in our electoral processes, that you will see that they will be in a position to, to have more interest in our democracy and also participate in our voting processes. You understand? So that's what I'm saying about the governor 2.5 million promise to the president.
Which has increased, though.
Okay, which has increased.
Not only did he say 2.5, I think he increased that.
Of course.
How empirical is that number?
I listened to our state chairman on TVC about a few days ago, and he did, make highlights on the plans that they have to achieve that goals. You understand? And he did mention about opposition, coalescing structure for us in the state. opposition parties.
Yeah, collapsing the structure.
Yes, for the ruling party in Edo State.
That tends towards a one-party state that we're talking about.
No, it's not a one-party system issue. People have rights to association. People have rights to join a political party.
But are you a Democrat?
I'm a Democrat.
Do you encourage a situation where the electorate wouldn't have choices to make in elections?
I don't believe in one-party system.
But what you just said,
no, what I'm saying that we are in,
seems to mimic that.
No. People have rights to association willingly. They are not coerced to do that. That is also the beauty of the democracy. You can't restrict people to one political party. So maybe because of the issues they are facing, because it seems that they are not having direction, they now decide to collapse their structure. That is them. So if they are not coming to join the APC, we cannot reject them. That is the beauty of democracy too. You understand? But me as an individual, I believe in opposition. Because without opposition, there will be no democracy. So if we are talking about democracy, it's because there are opposition. There are choices to make. People have to disagree with me. People have to agree with me. That is the way democracy has to work. So I'm not saying here that I'm against a multi-party system. Okay. I didn't say that. But what I'm saying that people have rights to, they come from political parties to political party at their own way.
And you also said that there's nothing wrong if other parties collapse their structures to join the winning party or ruling party.
No. If they are collapsing structure, then you look at the angle. What is the issue? Why are they collapsing structure? That is not of my making. Okay. You understand? Like where I come from, there are some persons that said they want to join the APC. We can't stop them because they have rights to association. These are things that are guaranteed in the Constitution. So because if we are here now begin to say, to allow emotions or sentiments in our discussion, it may look somehow. We also talk from the angle of the law and what the law says, because we are being governed by law. You understand? But now, the issue that brought us here this morning is how we can encourage our voters' participation. And that's why we are here. Yes. So I did mention, when you said performance, you said the removal of subsidy, how are they managing our resources and all that. And that is why I said, when I came here the last time, if you remember, I did say that your performance should be what will speak for you. That's what I said. And the deputy state chairman of the APC, Sylvester Agbobo, in Irua, you know what he said? That anybody who is aspiring for any position in the APC today, you have to show your performance.
Okay.
So now we are trying to change the narrative. Before you give somebody a ticket now, you should look at what they have done.
You are also a dominant figure when it comes to youth, you know, representing the youths. And again, in your expressions, you've made mention of that severally. We want to see youths' engagement. We want to see them coming out en masse, you know, being part of the process, you know, to be voted for, vying for positions. But again, there seems to be a trend in the political parties, in the political circle, that seems to, you know, stifle the youths and rather promote the aged. Now, how do we tackle this?
No, that is why we are enlightening people. I take myself for instance. If you want to lead a revolution, you need to avail yourself for that. Now, in my local government, there was issue of somebody who claimed, or rather alleged, of a promise when the INEC had not released the date of the election. Then people were now afraid to come out because they said, this man is saying this, it means that, you know, he has indeed been promised. But I said, as a youth, I said, no, we have to challenge this. We must allow eternal democracy. I lead that cause. Anybody that is vying for that position today in the local government, they are coming out because they saw what I came to do. I said no. So many youth are coming up. And now the party also is also encouraging you to participate in the various positions. Like you saw yesterday, slash 50% reduction for the youth. In a situation where you have to pay 10 million naira for House of Representatives, that means you have to pay about 5 million naira for the youth. It's also an encouragement. And if the party across, I'm not just talking about the APC now, they should also ensure that, you know, they carry the youth along in their process, because we are the future. We are the future of the country. So that is what I feel that we need to do at this time. So, and let me just say this now. Me as a youth now, on Thursday this week, I will be declaring my intention.
Well, leave that.
I will just say it's still part of the...
Yes, in as much as we encourage youth to come out, and it's important that you also have that ambition. And we just want to make sure that political parties, you know, do the needful, like you said, you know, slashing it into half.
And also feeding them.
Yeah. But we want to see that support coming out strong and not just in the surface. Yeah. Now, let's get to you, Matthew Ederese, as we gradually wrap up this segment. We want to see more of youths in the engagement of our political circle. What do you say that can be done to change the narrative, both at the level of political parties? You heard what Honorable Jonathan Okosun said, and of course at the level of, you know, the youths coming out deliberately to nurse this ambition.
The youth of this country, sorry to say, have become an emasculated generation. Economically, they are nowhere. They are not stakeholders. This country independence was achieved by youth involvement in politics. The likes of Awolowo, Zika, they were all in their youthful age. Trenaro was 24 when he became a federal minister. So I don't see any youth in Nigeria of today at 24 who can be made a minister. System have been so skewed against youth development and political growth. You're talking about a $5 million form for the youth to pick their nomination form. How will a youth who has no job, who has not been employed, or even if he's employed, how will he raise that amount just to pick a form? Because picking of the form is not the end of the electoral contest. It's just the introduction. The first step is going to bring up 10 times that amount for campaign. So how will he make that money available? Where will he get it from? And now we are making our politics look like a criminal enterprise meant only for those who are dubious, whose means of livelihood is questionable. We are seeing people of questionable characters, of dubious past, now taking over the political space because they only have the kind of money to gamble with. An average youth who is sincere and honest, who has no backing, cannot raise that amount to pick a nomination form. So you can see from the beginning, the youth are excluded by default. It is not the same situation or circumstance that was obtainable during the early days of Nigeria as a nation, where political parties are funded publicly. In this generation, political parties are not funded by members. In fact, the candidate or the aspirant funds the members, and the leaders of the party, they feast on potential aspirants and candidates. So we are criminalizing our democratic process by making it, taking it beyond the reach of the average person. So if you look at the odds, they are all against the youths. They're in favor of those who have been entrenched in the system, who have been able to amass so much wealth by shortchanging the system. And people have been awarded contract and they did not execute. They pocket the money as a financial war chest to prosecute power purchase, which they now call electoral contest. So if you are using plenty of money to buy power, how on earth do you expect such an investor to become charitable when he's in power? He will recoup his investment. That is the foundation of our political predicament and developmental quagmire as a people. Because those who are investing heavily in politics are not doing so out of altruism. They're not doing that out of magnanimity. They are seeing it as business investment, and like every business investment, you expect returns on investment. And when the return on investment comes, it's at the expense of development and infrastructural growth, or even the human capital development. That is why the nation appears to be sinking instead of making progress. We have laid a very terrible foundation, which is working against our growth, politically and democratically. It's unfortunate. The youths are under a heavy malady. There's little they can do. The only youths who are making headway now politically, who are able to play the politics of the moment, and those who are into some very terrible activities. Today we are talking about Yahoo boys and all of that, who are riding the best of the cars and building the best of the hotels. It is not because they are the most hardworking, because they're able to cut corners. And these people that we are seeing as bad influence are actually gradually taking over the political space, but they are the people who have the kind of money, humongous amount of money, to purchase the power, as it has now become the norm. It's unfortunate. That is where we have found ourselves as a nation.
Of course, an attempt for us to kill political corruption and bringing in the youth engagement into it is another dimension. But most especially, where what he said, there seems to be a big challenge, and it seems even the youth that we are looking up to, to become leaders of tomorrow. Like what he said, there are some who are in the political space or that wants to, come in, who really are money bags, and how did they amass this wealth? By, as alleged, cutting corners, like he said, How then do we rely on such a generation to take leadership? Are you bothered about that?
Yeah, I listened to him carefully, and I take his points, and I agree with him most of the things he said. But you see, like I said, it is the foundation that they lay for the younger ones. It is the consequence of what we are saying today.
The foundation that the older ones laid for the younger ones.
That's the consequence of what we are saying today. If they use, I'm not here to justify anybody for the action that they take. It is
when you say older ones, it cuts across political parties, even your party?
Yeah, of course. I mean, since 1960.
Okay.
It is the foundation that they lay for us. That is the consequence of what we are saying today. In a situation where a youth will graduate from school, will go back home to continue another second childhood. No job. So people indulge themselves into crime. Some of them, they are being forced to. So it has to take time to correct these issues. And that is why I'm emphasizing on youth engagement. But he has raised a lot of issues.
Okay.
As far when he talks about people have deep pockets, even how they raise the funds and not be questioned.
Exactly, because if eventually they win elections, it means that the syndrome of cutting corners will continue. And how do we kill corruption politically?
No, it requires time and continuous public engagement, just like we are doing now, so that some of our leaders will begin to see from the angle that if we continue this way, we'll continue to have more issues for generations to come. And I'm having children now. So I wouldn't want my children to grow up tomorrow and look at my daddy generation failed us. And that's what I can say of mine. You understand? So I'm saying that the youth, they also have to be encouraged, to participate, even if there are issues. There are a lot of issues. But we can't just, solve these issues. We can't just solve it right away, but it will take time. We'll give in time, then we'll be able to solve these issues eventually. Or if, like I said, like how a youth can, raise about 5 million to purchase a phone, like somebody who has no work, it is a serious concern. But I believe that there are still people who can equally give support to some youths which they believe they have credibility. So because your actions and inactions towards people also matters a lot. But there are issues, but I believe it have to be addressed, and we'll start it now. We'll talk about it, enlighten our people that this has the decision that we are taking now, the consequence we also have tomorrow. In a situation like I said, where we have people who cut corners, according to him, now you are now giving them opportunity to serve as as our leaders. It means there are greater issues for the generations to come.
Okay.
You understand? So I agree with him on that. But
all right, Matthew Degase, let me give you this question again, because I want you to settle on what you said earlier. And the last question quickly. Do you see the younger generation, the youths, as the way to go in changing the narrative for our electoral process?
It will require a lot of ingenuity and creativity on the part of the younger generation to assess power positively without taking the route of criminality and negativity. One of such ingenuity is the idea of raising funds to finance the best among themselves. to take power for the benefit of the people. And there's this issue of this idea of crowdfunding. At times when we have issues, you hear the youths, they crowdfund a project like the NSAS. There was crowdfunding. But when it comes to political participation, we don't see any crowdfunding to project one of their own. Unless they are able to do that, because they're internet savvy, they can raise funds through crowdfunding. And even outspend these money bags who are coming to steal our future.
All right, thank you very much, Matthew Edega. That's the much we can take on to this discussion. Big thanks for taking our time to be part of this, and I wish you a beautiful day ahead of you. Big thanks to you, Honorable Jonathan Okosun, former councillor, of course, of the East and Northeast Local Government Council, Southeast, East and Southeast, Ubiaja 1. And big thanks on coming, and of course, I wish you the best in your ambition and your endeavors as you go along. Well, we will be taking a short break, after which we will be joining our Abuja studio where Dominic Yamese is standing by. Do stay.
All right, you're still watching the program this morning on ITV. You're now back to our Abuja studio for the continuation of our discussion. You saw there Philip talking about the 2027 general election that's just around the corner. Politicking has started with the APC setting the ball rolling yesterday when they released their timetable for the primaries and also nomination forms and how much candidates are to spend in terms of getting a nomination form, and then the period at which these primaries will take place, either appeals or any other issues that have to do with the party structure towards getting a candidate or candidates for various elections, especially in House of Reps, the Senate, governorship, and then president's candidates for the 2027 election. But like they say, politics is local, and we're going to begin with the FCT Congress that just happened recently. Don't forget, those who are members of the Congress from the world levels will also end up being those who will be electing those that will be representing them at the national level, just like what we saw during the convention. And I have someone who has always shown interest when it comes to issues of politics in the FCT and beyond. He is Hassan Aske, a politician here in the nation's capital. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, like I said, you have been very close to the grassroots. But let me begin with asking you, what do you think is the impulse of the people as far as the APC is concerned? Because, like I said earlier, we've seen them, they've set the ball rolling by releasing their timetable, which we expect that other political parties will be doing same very soon. Looking at your closeness to the people, tell us, what's the impulse like? What's the expectation from the people as far as the APC or political parties are concerned going forward into the primaries?
About the current situation in FCT and the politics, as you have earlier mentioned, we were able to hold a congress on Saturday, last Saturday. Honestly speaking, what happened on that very Saturday is an unfortunate event that happened in my party, APC, regarding the election of Congress that will declare a party chairman in FCT. I see no reason why democracy will always be struggling on how it to stand, how it to survive. And when I see member that I'm speaking with you, but I see why I will always ties personal interest.
So what are those issues you want
there
to
was
up?
no any congress that took place in FCT, and one person was just declared as now the APC party chairman in
Was
FCT.
that in line with the party's constitution, where we should have a consensus candidate?
I have never seen it as what happened as in line with the party constitution. Because go to the Article 20 of the APC constitution. It will tell you how an election will be conducted for nominating either for nominating anybody that is looking for a position. I was an aspirant contesting for the FCT State Party chairman, but me and two others that were contesting, none of us was consulted or called or allowed to even buy a phone to participate in the election. So when a party can be able to do this to its members internally, how do you expect the external democracy to be treated? We have to tell ourselves the truth. This is not the first time that I have participated in an internal democracy that justice should be done to me and other Nigerians, so that Nigerians can be able to understand, yes, this party is doing the right thing. But I, as a member of APC, I have never seen anything right on Saturday election. And I was at the party office yesterday to the national, submitting my petition against the conduct of that election, because I have never seen a consensus. So I have never. We were told to be at the venue by 10. We were there up to 6. Nobody. It's only a leader. This one will come and go. Nobody.
Under the supervision of INEC. Was this supervised by the national?
They were able to arrive, because you know, in politics you must have an informers. But after we have stayed long, to almost after 6, then we realized they are not coming. We have to leave the venue, because we were informed they were in different locations, different hotels, arranging who they would declare in this position and the other position, without calling the attention of those that has interest, those that are members of the party, those that have interest in contesting. I expect the leaders, I expect the people that conducted that election should try to call the aspirant, to hear their manifestos, to hear the reason behind their aspiration, so they can use that as an element to conduct or to assess who should be a leader. But we were able to learn that just a phone call was made, and that phone call, whether it may be real or not, that's where the direction went on.
Could it be that there are certain individuals that are interested in some persons as far as the FCT election is concerned? Because we saw what played out towards the area council elections. A few days to the election, people were stepping down for the interest of the party.
You have made it clearly to incident that happened in this Congress. The one declared winner after the elders spoke. The FCT elders were able to speak through one senior senator in the FCT, a retired military who once served as Chief of Defense Intelligence of Nigerian military. Look at the National Party chairman and tell him, Mr. Chairman, we are to tell you nothing but the truth as you are looking for us. This is the area we are advising you that you should zone the position of this party chairman. And all the elders present believe to that. And unfortunately, we have seen contrary to that. And the one that emerged today, go to the Facebook, you will see his statement. Based on the recommendation by the elders, he believes he is no longer part of those that are supposed to chair the party at the FCT. He withdrew, because he believed he did not meet up the requirement from the elders. Then his friend from
who are the elders? Let's get this straight.
The elders
are, because we know the internal party issues.
We have Sabin Senator, as we are looking for the elders. We have Sabin Senator, Senator Zafania, who served as a leader of the party in the FCT. We have former senators like Senator Jibrulu, Senator Sid Ali, Senator Philip Aduda that just come, and Senator Isa Maina, a retired colonel, I think, in the Nigerian military. So all these and many other stakeholders like Honorable Zachary Angoludubi, they are part of the critical stakeholders in the FCT. And they have agreed that, yes, this position should be zoned to some certain people so that they will feel sense of belonging, they will be part of the system. But that advice has been neglected and disrespected. It is unfortunate that we cannot maintain an internet democracy. So what are we telling Nigerians? We have to do what is right so that we can have a consideration vote from Nigerians. Not that internally we should do all what we want. If you always say you want to do what you like, you will see what you don't like. Please, I'm appealing to my party. I thought the party can consider, yes, this kind of people that like to belong to the 27, but I don't know what is happening or what they are doing or what they are trying to say.
So of what impacts or effects does this have on your party? Because at the national level, we seem to be a more stable party than when you come to the FCT. Even just few, if you look at the media yesterday, a former governor of Ogun State, Benga, was even stopped from attending a meeting. We're beginning to see this little fracas among party structures in the state level. So what impact will this have going towards the 2027 election, or going towards your primaries? Because it's believed that those who are heading the party at the state level will definitely be at the primary, whether you ancestor direct or system.
Let me say thank you to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for in direct relation.
As the delegate system.
Yeah, the delegate system. Salute President for what many nowadays are recruiting those that will be in party position as a delegate so that they will dance to the tune of their own interest, not to the tune of the right thing for the nation. So it is now an obligatory or a mandate given to Nigerians that if we have any primary election, that we should come out in numbers and declare this is the person that we need.
So now it's not in the hands of political again.
Exactly.
That's where I wanted
because
to
most of the
clarify.
problem we
Because
are having,
if you are saying that,
let me say it to our Congress. Okay. What happened is that I have a petition submitted to me from a geopolitical zone leaders that the position they're supposed to have based on the sharing formula of the 6 geopolitical zones that are in FCT, the Northwest Solution position slot has been solved by who? By a secretary or somebody, I think, at the zonal, that they are in charge of that, allocating of the position to the zones. That their zones slot was not given to the elders of that zone in order to look who among them that deserve to represent them. Somebody just because he feels that he was honored or privileged to be in that position, he would just mar what belongs to others. So with that, I think doing this kind of attitude will not help the party. We are approaching 2027 general election. But upon all what has done to us, I just feel, I'm just even surprised that some of the stakeholders or the elders or the leaders, I may say the leaders in the party that conducted this, our Congress in the FCT, probably they are hired in order to, to spoil our party. They are hired in order to bring problem to us.
Well, I know that is your party, so you hold your opinion. If you say they are hired to scatter your party, but we know that the issue of internal democracy is usually sometimes is the courts that comes in and see how to interpret most of these issues, because the Electoral Act has given that provision. But let's look beyond just the FCT Congress. The last convention where your party held in the FCT, we saw the election of new executives and all that. Now, going into the primaries, which will begin any moment from now, from April, going by the timetable, we say 100 million naira. Most times when we hear such amounts, most persons will say, look, this amount is too much for a political party just for a ticket. And then some persons will tell you that once this person gets into power, the first thing they want to do is to recruit their investment into the election. What's your take on what your party did yesterday, the release of the timetable, looking at the time frame and then the amounts allocated for each political positions?
Well, for the price of the nomination forms, 100 million for president, I think it is too much. It is too much because you may have some young people like me may probably intend to contest for the presidency of Nigeria.
But don't forget that we are already seeing a kind of consensus system already in your party. It means we might be having just one person running for the APC.
Yeah, but probably if the price can go down, others can come out to indicate their interest at that moment. Then we should know how the party will play the internal democracy. Because it is a right given by the national constitution and the party constitution that you should vote and be voted. So I think regarding the price of the forms for all office need to come down. I'm pleading on behalf of Nigerians that my party should bring the price a little bit down in the sense that we used to have information from people because we are close to the grassroots. As a grassroots politician, people are complaining that the higher the price is like a technical chance given to those that are incumbent. Because if you are not an incumbent, for you to source such amount of money of 20-something million to buy a form, it is not something easy. So it is technically paving way for those that are in the system in order to go on because they earn such amount of money.
Okay, let me just give a breakdown of the purchase of forms as released by APC yesterday. We have for House of Assemblies, expression of interest is put at 100,000, and then we have a nomination form at 5 million naira. Then the total sum is about 6 million. Okay, expression of form is put at 1 million. Then we have nomination forms at 5 million, and then 6 million naira for House of Assembly. Then for House of Representative, 1 million naira for expression of interest, 9 million naira for nomination, and that's a total of 10 million naira. Then we have Senate, 3 million naira for expression of interest, 17 million naira for nomination, and then 20 million naira for, that's the total sum. Then if you go down, you see governorship, 10 million naira for expression of interest, then 40 million naira and 50 million naira totally. Now, for the youth, like you just mentioned now, if you want to contest, looking at the amount is much, but the party has also decided to make it 50% for youths and women. That's an inclusive system, ensuring that women and youth can come in. Is that still on the high side?
Yes, it's still on the high side. Because if you go and break down the ages they are declaring as youth in Nigeria or ages of those that are ready to pay that amount, is somebody that you can say that he's just a graduate that came out from the university, started working 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. So how do you expect from his salary and legitimate earning to rise such amount of 50 million for him to contest as governor? So technically you are like defeating him no matter, and we have seen it. Murtala Muhammad was in 30-something years when he was a president. Yakubu Gowon is 20-something years when he became a president. And we can just and say these are the good leaders that we have, because most of the leaders that were able to contribute positively toward developing the nation are at the tender age of youth. But today, a youth after university, 2-3 years, you have gone into any project or you cannot earn this kind of amount to pay for form, talk less of fueling your car, campaign, logistics. So I'm still appealing that prices should come a little bit down. And let me say it to my party APC that we should know there is party ADC, NDC. These people can probably bring more price down, and that will enable more people to
Is it the
down.
price that is the issue now, or the ideology of the party? Because if you're bringing in other political parties that might reduce your prices of nomination forms of expression of interest, are we looking at the money or the ideology that you're going into that party?
Mr. Dominic, ideology on going into parties nowadays in Nigeria are all the same. Because, as I have earlier mentioned, where and when that I have contested twice, my party was able to restrict its constitutions and guidelines on conducting activities. No. So, and that's why you can see an aspirant from here can move here. More of the, manifestos and ethics that guide the party are no longer considered. But I believe what we now need is the character of the women that are aspiring for those positions. That's what matters. Because when you are okay, how many people are elected from Labour? They are no longer now in Labour. They have forgot all their manifestos and they have gone to our party. Are they still compliant to the manifestos of our party? How many governors elected based on the platform of their party, ethics and manifestos of their party, but they are no longer respected to that ethics and they just move where they feel. So, honestly speaking, I'm appealing to my party and all Nigerian parties that we should try to see that we are respecting the rules and regulations governing all political parties.
But before I let you go, I know I asked this question earlier and you're trying to play around with it. Will the APC be adopting the consensus system or direct or indirect party in our primaries, looking at the way the internal policy is being played now? Because we've not really seen persons of interest showing coming out to declare interest for these presidential elections, especially in the APC. Are we looking at a consensus candidates for the APC?
Well, it is known to anybody by the fact of how we have conducted our national convention to what has happened to us at the FCT Congress, which I am still looking at it, that you can't mark things at the center because there is eyes of all Nigerians at the center. Whatever we have done, it is something that will go into the whole areas, into the whole here and there of the country, because all Nigerians are here. So that's why it pains me more to see my party is not doing the right thing, because those malpractices and injustice of conducting proper Congress and other political activity, it is something that is messing the party before all Nigerians within a short period of time.
So are you saying that the endorsement of President Bola Tinubu is not in the interest of some party members?
No, it may be, but at least I am seeing it due to the nature of, maintaining culture of positions in Nigeria. Why not give him a chance to go on so that he can finish his second tenure? But I have heard it from many that no, it is enough for him due to these reasons. When you look at the calculation of zoning in the Nigerian politics, it's respected 100%, in the sense that right from 1990 to date, the northern Nigeria was able to only spend less than 10 years, while the South were able to spend more than 16 years. So there is need for balance.
I must thank you so much for your time, Hassan Askey. Of course, time will not allow us to go beyond where we are. Thank you. Hassan Askey It's a pleasure having you in our studios.
Pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll move over now to our
arts and beliefs, deeply rooted in the country's diverse ethnic groups and their rich history. The dance has artistic expressions depicting the people's history. Benin people have been famous for bronze and brass work, some of which is said to date back from the 13th century, especially ivory and wood carving. In Benin, the people dance to show respect, honor, dignity, which they honor. They dance to show royalty, as naids are seen in their numbers round their body depicting the symbol of kingship.
Hello and welcome to the continuation of This Morning on ITV from our Lagos Network Center. I am Patricia Uremu-Gigos. It's good to have you this morning. Anyway, this morning is a Tuesday morning. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning here in Lagos. And this morning we'll be looking at the insecurity in Nigeria, it's taken a new dimension. I mean, for the past 1 or 2 weeks, we've seen it going from, kidnapping of soldiers, kidnapping of motorists, kidnapping of those traveling along the expressway, to our waterways and to the children. And so it is actually giving Nigerians some concerns. And so this morning we'll be looking at the safeguarding of Nigerians' future. Of course, they say the children are our future, and now the kidnapping, it looks like it's shifting to them. So we'll be looking at the safeguarding of Nigerians' future, taking a proper look at the adoption of the UTME candidates in Benue State and Calabar incidents. We'll be focusing on those two incidents. And so with me in the studio this morning to take a look at this are my gentlemen who are always here to analyze the situations of Nigeria. I have on my far left Mr. Chris Ososa. Mr. Chris Ososa is a political analyst. He's going to be joining us this morning to discuss this. Chris, you're welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And of course, as usual, I have Dr. Sam Wasinda. Dr. Sam Wasinda is a public affairs analyst. He's also going to be joining us this morning to discuss the insecurity issues in Nigeria. You're welcome to the program.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, gentlemen, you are welcome. And then, honestly, it's been a disturbing one. It looks like the kidnapping business has been shifted to our children, and is a concern. I mean, it's been a very big concern. We saw what happened in Benue State, and we also saw what happened in Calabar. But let me quickly ask, how would you assess the current state of insecurity in Nigeria, particularly with the recent incident involving our students? Let me start with you, Dr. Sam.
Well, like you said in your opening remarks, it is sad, and this shows how far these terrorists and people who have decided to cause unrest in this nation have decided to go. And it also shows the multi-faceted dimension to this now. If you recall, some couple of weeks ago, we're talking about Plateau State in Jos. And then shortly after that, we're discussing about the killings of our generals. And then today, we're talking about the kidnapping of candidates who actually went for their exams. So that should tell you that the insecurity situation is taking a deeper turn and is becoming more dimensional, in nature. And for me, I feel like it's a wake-up call, if I may say, to Mr. President, who his primary assignment is to secure life and property, of which he took an oath to. And by extension, there are funds that are raised to enable him to do that. I didn't sign for security of life and property. He did. And that was because we entrust him, to do so. So for me, I feel that these signals are direct pointer that I think we should shift a little bit from politics and go into governance. And by going to governance, I mean is that it should be more decisive in this matter, because it's showing that these guys are ready to eradicate even the futures of Nigeria. And if it continues this way, it will get to a point that even children will be afraid to go to school because they will not be sure of their security. And then the moment education is disrupted, you can expect anything to any country and to any government. So for me, I think the president needs to, at this time, take a more decisive measure by going beyond just politicking and going straight into governance and taking strict measures concerning these terrorists. Otherwise, they started from somewhere. Today, this is where we are. And they are not ready to stop. So the more we continue to think and look at them the way they are actually portrayed to us, ranging from prodigal sons to our brothers and to our sisters. I don't think your brothers and your sisters should go this way because they want to make a statement. After all, we don't even know the statement these people are making. As far as I'm concerned, they are just terrorizing. And the word terrorizing means they are terrorizing people, putting people in fear. Today, a common Nigerian now is not even sure of his safety. Not because we don't have government in place, but because the government probably needs to step up to do better than what they are doing now. Otherwise, these guys are ready to overrun this nation. And God forbid that we wake up one morning and then this country is taken over by terrorists, simply because the government are still playing politics and they have not raised the standard of governance. So I think we should move into governance where decisive measures. and then whoever is assigned, like the security chiefs and the rest, we should go beyond having meetings with them. I keep saying it each time I come here. When a matter like this happens, some people should be called to question. Some people should answer for it. Not all the time they call them every time the security briefing. We should be saying the outcome of some of these security briefings. And some of the security briefings should be that when matters like this are done, when there is a killing, somebody should be called to question. You should account for those lives that are lost. For me, that's governance, so that Nigerians can feel more safe and more secure. Otherwise, even the people outside this country, other nations are seeing us as one of the unsecure nations. Because now it's coming down to our children. You can imagine somebody going for his exam and he's not sure of coming back. No parent wants, no child. I can even imagine the trauma these children are now, particularly the ones in Calabar. It has not yet been verified if they are even released. So only God knows what they are going through. And what was their offense? In order to become part and parcel of this country and to contribute their own quota when time comes. Because it is, they are called the futures of Nigeria. So if the future is under such an attack, what do you expect? So I think we should move to governance at this point.
Thank you, Wasinda. Nigerians' lives means a lot. Anyway, let me go to you, Chris. What's your take on what Dr. Wasinda had just said?
Well, for me, I want to start with JAMB itself, because I've been, I want to start with JAMB. I've been protesting a lot about JAMB starting the exam by 6:30 a.m. because that is a show or a negligence towards the security state of the nation. Yes, the North is brutal, fatal, horrible because of the mass killings and all of that. But yet, the insecurity we have in the South may not be as brutal and as violent as what we have in the North. But then we still have a very ugly one in the South too, because people are being kidnapped, and that's horrible. So for me, I think it is highly insensitive of JAMB to be putting time for 6:30. That makes people have to go leave home very early in the morning, and that makes them vulnerable to just walk into the place of insecurity and all of that. So I've been protesting this, and I think the National Assembly should just because if the worst happened, JAMB will not take responsibility for children that are lost or being damaged or killed, whatever. They won't take responsibility. So I think the National Assembly should just perform the oversight function to call JAMB to questioning as regards that, or probably the Minister of Education, because it is not feasible to put the exam at 6:30 and people leave home by 5 or thereabout. My second son sat for this JAMB too, and we know how leaving home very early in the morning, it's quite vulnerable to do that. And people have to come from far, and where JAMB is, if you don't get it when you're supposed to get there, you won't sit for the exam anymore. So that's dangerous. So to be sent to the state of insecurity in the nation. Having said that, insecurity, of course, what we have with insecurity today is ugly and terrible. And that is also because insecurity, first and foremost, besides being a criminal act, is an industry. It's an industry. Oh yeah, it has several dragon heads. It's an industry that has been patronized, of course, by soulless people, where people are engaging in security for economic gains. And it has thrived this much because you have people that are highly placed, okay, that are compromised in the sense that strengthen this network of a criminal gang. You have people in government, you have people that are highly placed in society, okay, they call it a syndicate that powers it. So that's why you see it spreading the way it's spreading, and it's sounding almost like it's difficult to stop now because there are powerful people around it. They made economy out of it and all of that. Now,
let me come in here. Are you saying they're more powerful than the federal government?
I'm coming. I'm driving towards something. Okay. I'm not saying they're more powerful than the government. I'm just telling you the depth of insecurity. It's not just happening because of the surface. No, it's happening because there are people powering it. And these are very, very strong. Sometimes it's a region, sometimes it's a system on its own. Insecurity is a system, well-coordinated system, all right? And then that makes the nation. Now, where the nation is vulnerable as regards this, number one, you look at technical angle from the nation, because it will take political will to tackle insecurity. And then the one thing you also need to understand about insecurity, if it has gone deep like we have in Nigeria today, it becomes extremely difficult to fight. So we are in a very bad place at the moment with insecurity. Now what happened is this: government needs to raise the political will to confront insecurity. Now we also look at the technical ability of the government to handle it. For example, what is the state of our policing? It's very key. The last time I checked, the statistic of policing in Nigeria is about 400 citizens to 1 police. So we are under police as a nation. So in Calabar, what is happening in Calabar is people are traveling and then they are hijacking them, kidnapping them. Now, what is the security surveillance we have on the highways to protect travelers? Almost nothing. What is the security surveillance we have on the waterways to protect travelers? Almost nothing. So the security infrastructure is low. So the technical ability of government to fight insecurity is pretty low, all right? And then you also need to understand that because this thing has been entrenched over time, all right? Now, if government get pushed up the political, that's the will, that's the weapon government has now to fight the political will. Now, they have to push that up to confront it. Now, and let me also say this. As much as I agree to it, that the state of insecurity is alarming, disturbing, and then everybody is terrified because we're all traumatized. Even if your children are kidnapped, you see other people's children being kidnapped. You see young people being kidnapped. I saw they released the victim of Benue. I mean, these are very young teenagers. Yes. Okay, I was traumatized as well. Okay, now I haven't said this. It will also be wrong to water down the efforts of the government, because a lot too has been done. The military, those guys sacrifice their life to fight insurgents and then insecurity, whatever. Some of them lose their life. They pay the ultimate price, and then we should not wink at that. So they also achieve some mileage of success too. So we should acknowledge the victories that they have on one side, as much as we also hold them to account to do more. So now, ordinarily, what government does with this is you fight insecurity through the kinetic approach and the non-kinetic approach. Fine. So you need to deploy both to combat it. And the victory over insecurity is not going to be a switch. It's going to be over time. So we also need to be a bit patient, and then, importantly, hold the government to account, hold them by the horn, and then challenge better. Because, of course, yes, government can respond to this. They are responding. They're not doing enough. We must continue to push government and also acknowledge where they are getting it right.
I'm going to pick from him, but let me go through to on Friday, 17th April in Calabar. About 15 passengers were abducted by sea pirates while traveling by boat from Calabar to Iron in Akwa Ibom State, and many of the victims were mostly students who were going to take the JAMB exams. My question is there a kidnapping to children now, or is just a coincidence? And from what he said while he was talking, he said government is just campaigning or politicking. They're not looking at the city properly. Is that your take?
No, that would be undermining the effort of the government, and that I don't think that is fair, because we've seen a lot of these bad guys being taken out. We've seen a lot of kidnap attempts being foiled. We've seen government having victory in terms of, just of recent, about over 300 terrorists were being prosecuted. Even the U.S. released a statement as regard giving a thumbs up to what Alpha Nigeria is going with fighting insecurity.
But we've also seen them in...
No, I'm coming. We've seen loads of successes in terms of fighting insurgents in Nigeria. We've seen that. So we must not be too emotional to look at the downsides of it, which is also very deep, to now completely eradicate what government is doing, to not just wink it off. That will not be fair. We should be balanced. Yes, government is doing well in terms of fighting back, pushing back, and engaging non-kinetic approach too. But at the same time, we're also seeing the situation is still very ugly. It's still very, very ugly. We're not safe. Practically, I would say Nigeria is not a safe space. That is obvious. So meaning that government should do more. But to not say that the government has abandoned insecurity for private governance and all of that, I think that is a bit unfair. Because it's like saying all of the success they're having does not exist. Now that's not fair, because that's not true. All right. So they are having some measure of success. It is not enough. They can do a lot better. We demand more from them. So while we demand more from them, while we blame them for not doing enough, we should be fair enough and be constructive enough to also acknowledge the successes they're having. And they will not have as much success as they are having today if they are doing nothing, or if they're not concerned about it. But the truth is just that if you're overwhelmed with insecurity, like Nigeria has been overwhelmed, we're going to have this bad run for a while.
Let me come here now. Let me come in here. How will you place this percentage of the security personnel doing well in Nigeria? And how did we get here? It looks like it's getting worse every day. How did we get here?
All right, let me, before I respond to that, let me correct what he said concerning my response. I said what I said, yes, because you were saying that I'm undermining the efforts of the government. That's not what I said. I said it is time to move from just politicking in governance. The energy these current political ruling parties are putting into campaign for 2027, they should deploy same energy in tackling security problem. That's exactly what I meant. I'm not saying they are not working at all, but I'm saying that they should step up the game. That's my language. That's my word. I'm not saying they are not doing anything. It would be wrong for me to sit here and say the government is doing nothing. But what I'm saying is that the government should step up the game, because these guys, they are not joking at all. Otherwise, we wake up one morning, they will overrun this country. And that's my point. Yes. So I'm not saying that government is not doing anything. Now, coming to the question you're asking, I learned that in the budget, I'm not too sure, but they said on the budget for the security, it was only 7% or thereabout that was released. How do you explain that? What would they do with 7% of their total budget? Most governments succeed that way. So if you have a budget, you should be able to, because security for me, based on what is going on now, should be the primary reason. And like I said, with my emphasis to say, is the primary responsibility. It's not just, it's a primary. Let's check the word primary. So the only reason why President Tinubu is in power is because I should get my security. My property should be secured. That's his primary assignment. That's the reason why we pay tax, so that the tax can be used by him. So when we are talking about measuring the security, we are not saying we are not gaining, but we are not gaining much. And that is because what the security agencies, some of them also need to drive through, is not there for them to work. And the political will should be there. Like I said, head should roll if necessary. It's important. Why will you assign somebody to do a job, or you will pass an order, a marching order, and then something happen days after, or even within 24 hours, and nothing is said about it, nothing is done about it? Nigerians want to know what's going on. And I think part of the challenge with this current government is that probably they are doing so much, but their communication is poor. So we are not understanding what they are doing, because we are not seeing it, we are not hearing it. And at every point we see them, it's all about 2027 election. You come and tell us more and show us more result of what they are doing. So it's possible that they are doing so much, but we are not seeing it, we are not hearing it. No ghosts. We need some playing it. And this is the challenge we are having. We are afraid of coming out of our house. When we go to bed, we can't sleep with our two eyes closed. And so we are calling on the number one man that please step up your game, because these guys are not joking. Now they have, it's not that they are thinking towards that direction. They are only, everything we are seeing is an addition. I hope you remember some time ago we were talking about Sosa bombing. All these things, they are just trying to let us know that they are there. Whenever they need it, they trigger it and make use of it. So for me, it's a direct pointer to the ruling party and to the sitting president that he needs to step up the game. Enough of roundtable discussion and meeting. Guy, go and do this, and if you don't get it delivered, it's either you are sacked or retire or whatever, or you face the law. By the time we start doing it, maybe our security chiefs will now step up and then know what they are doing about this matter. But this thing is no longer funny, because the future of Nigeria is now at stake. I can imagine those who are going to be preparing for the next jam, what could be running through their minds.
Even the parents.
Even the parents. So these are the things we're worried about. So that's what I mean by they should move away from just politicking, and they should go into governance. And then look at the cries and the needs of the people, which is security, which is the ultimate. Because without it, we cannot even be here talking.
Okay. So please permit me to just add something to that. I appreciate what you said, because we said probably similar things. Great. Right, that the state of insecurity in Nigeria is alarming, is horrible, and then it's pathetic. All right, so nobody can deny that, not even the president. Okay, so but what I've also said, in addition to talking about what government is doing, that's also loud in fighting security. For example, we saw of recent how that the trucks of trailer that were taking food to the terrorists in their hideout was cut off or seized. Now that is a whole lot too, in the sense that because these are the things that sustain them So if you begin to cut off the ecosystem, because there are multi-dimensional ways you fight insecurity. It's not just about the kinetic approach of carrying guns and all of that. Dimensions. You begin to look at, of course, of recent government named about 48 people that are financiers of terrorism. That's on that level. Before now, that has not been done. Okay, so it seems government getting bolder in getting to the heart of it. Now, financiers are being named. All right, that's a way of fighting it. About over 300 of them were prosecuted. All right, in court. That's for a long time. Now, you have been crying. What about putting these guys in jail and all of that? Now we're seeing that being done too. So to be frank, the government is very serious about fighting, because, for example, the parent knows very well two basic things that will judge this administration is the security level of the people and the economic power of the people. All right, so it's been taken very seriously. Another thing you also need to look at is the way you fight insecurity. You have the privilege to be a CSO of my estate at some point, okay, and then insecurity is not what you fight so loud in a, there's a way you come at it that even from behind and all of that. So you do much more that is not seen or that is seen every now and then. But you gather intel and all of the lies with some people, because there are people behind all of these things that you also need to negotiate with, you also need to talk to, you also need to get some whatever on. So many things you do, all right, there's a process of success. Now the only part of the process is it gains, okay? So but we have a situation where insecurity is being entrenched. We are being overwhelmed. So we're not going to take that out overnight. So while we're fighting it, and you see we're not winning, does not mean not much is done. It's because the state it is now is so alarming that we'll still see a lot of this striking, whatever, and that should not mean that government is not doing anything. Then lastly, very importantly, policing and security infrastructure. It's very important. Very, very important. Our policing is poor. Now we are saying they're talking about state police. In America, they have different layers of security structure. All right, that's why before, and they have the strong infrastructure. You commit career to the corner. We should invest in that infrastructure because it costs a whole lot too. Okay, but at the same time, policing is very poor in Nigeria as we speak. It is extremely poor. If your policing is poor, you are almost helpless fighting insecurity. You are almost helpless. So we need to do more about it. Now they are discussing state policing, state police, because state police are two different things anyway. But we must get our policing right. Well, as it is now, the personnel, we are weak in personnel, with funding, we are weak in the show. And these things will not come on board overnight. And you need to have them on board to win more.
Okay, Chris, you just brought in the police. Oh, really, it's not part of our discussion.
No, part of the solution.
No, but we talked about police this morning, where we have the retired policemen on the streets protesting for their pension. Don't you think this will police officers who are still in service not to want to risk their lives in securing the nation?
I agree with you absolutely, and that is because of the nature of corruption that has been entrenched in our system. This Nigeria has been compromised for way too long in diverse areas. It's not what you can correct overnight. Okay, we talk about police being retired police officers being strangulated, being stagnated. It's something happened with the military guys, right? So this has become so much a part of our system that you cannot just cure overnight.
Okay, let's leave that because of our time. Let's quickly go to you, Dr. Sam. What reforms are necessary in the security sector to better safeguard Nigerians?
Well, like Mr. Chris was trying to mention, you see, let's not forget that the president is the commander-in-chief. So the issue of the police reform, one of the things he promised us in his manifesto coming in 2023 was security. So he should have had a clear architecture plan for the security. Of course, he has done a good thing. Kudos to him when he brought about the issue of state policing and the state police. But we still have a problem because that has still not gone through, because they are still on the discussion stage as we speak, which was supposed to be on the implementation, because the pressure, the demand for it is very, very high. And then there are a lot of things that he needs to really overhaul, particularly if we must actually even have election in 2027, because the way this insecurity matter is going, and then with what you have just mentioned, which is all over the news, the police are protesting for the past. And me, I'm also a policeman now, currently seeing what is going on. I'm seeing my future, because these guys you are seeing are their future. And then I wouldn't want to stock my life in that. So I think the government, in the measure to correct it, they need to rectify this as quick as possible.
Oh my God, time is not just our friend. this morning. Oh, so sorry. Book 1 second up, actually. Finally, what gives you hope that Nigeria can overcome the security challenges, Chris?
Well, I'm seeing the political will is steaming up, like the boldness to prosecute all of this guy, because before now they would tell you that they catch us, but now we've seen them taken to court and being prosecuted openly and being jailed. That for me is a plus. We're seeing state policing. Okay, unfortunately, the downside of state police is the fact that the governors will abuse it. So they have to do a whole lot about safeguarding and all that. But the political will of bringing it forward is something that is commendable, and we know that with time we'll get it right. I'm seeing the signs, and I'm confident that with time we'll get it right.
Thank you so much, Chris. With time we'll get it right. And from Dr. Wasinda, he wants the government to step up their games. Anyway, it's the end of this program this morning. Time runs so fast here. Anyway, thank you for joining us on TMI this morning. I am Patricia Oremu Gabriels.
Good morning and welcome to the news update on Independent Television. I am Ehoy Davis. As part of efforts to tackle flooding and improve environmental sustainability in other states, the Commissioner for Environment and Sustainability, Honorable Nosa Adams, has embarked on an inspection of ongoing drainage evacuation projects across key areas in Benin Metropolis. The report by Shalom Ongara is presented by Kwamusa Ugiagbe.
The inspection tour took the commissioner to major flood-prone areas, including Ugbawo Lagos Road, Uselu Lagos Road, and Siluku Road that have long suffered from poor drainage and recurrent flooding. At each site, Honorable Nosa Adams assessed the level of work done, engaging directly with engineers and project managers overseeing the drainage evacuation operations.
The governor has ordered that we should quickly, as a matter of urgency, deseat those ponds, both the one by the fence of the SRT and the two inside the SRT, after which we will now through the underground culvert so that this water on the express will immediately leave. And when it rains, you can't see water here again. We have the full cooperation of the military. The commandant and his men and officers have been very helpful. They have been cooperating with us to ensure that we do effective and efficient work here. A one-time solution.
Engineers at each site visited explained that the evacuation process involves clearing blocked drainage channels, removing accumulated debris, and expanding water pathways to ensure free flow during heavy rainfall.
In a couple of days, once we are through desilting this pond, we are going to open this channel, which is the box cover, so that all this stagnant water that we have here can flow through to this pond.
For now, the work is being going well and everything is okay.
Director of Flood and Erosion Control, Greg Obasogie, highlighted the importance of the exercise.
All the major streets that have flooding problems within the metropolis is where the governor has directed that we currently work on. As you are aware, the rains are already setting in, so we need to ensure that those channels and receptacles are free.
The Commissioner, Honorable Nosa Adams, reiterated government's commitment to addressing environmental challenges, emphasizing that sustainable flood control requires infrastructural intervention. Ikmomusa Ugiagbe, ITV News.
A victory party has been held in honor of Dr. Mary Idele Alile on her re-election as All Progressives Congress National Women Leader. With her re-election, Dr. Mary Idele Alile will pilot the affairs of women in the party for a second tenure of 4 years. Jonah Omorwa has details.
The victory party, which held in Benin City, attracted dignitaries and guests from within and outside Benin City, including the Edo South APC leader and a former deputy governor of Edo State, Dr. Pius Udubu, a former secretary to the Edo State government, and APC Edo South senatorial aspirant, Pastor Osagi Izeyamo, was characterized by speeches, singing, and dancing. Leaders and guests in separate remarks congratulated Dr. Mary Idele Alile for her victory.
Congratulate you for your second tenure. We just ask you to keep on keeping on. You have never hidden your love for God. I also believe that has helped you to be who you are. You have come back for your second tenure. May God continue to give you more wisdom.
She can go into every nook and cranny just to bring out something for the women.
This is just the beginning. One day she will go higher and become the first female minister of Edo State.
The celebrant, whose joy knew no bound, called for increased female representation in the 2027 elections.
I want to encourage you. The reserve seat bill for women, perhaps it's not for me, but it's for your children. So support that bill, shine that bill, post that bill, talk that bill, sleep that bill, so that that bill can be passed.
My wife has been a wonderful woman and a woman with tremendous grace. I want to thank God for her life.
Others in attendance were APC local government chairmen, legislators, religious and traditional leaders, youth and women support groups. From Benin, Jonah Omowa, ITV News.
A fast-growing business enterprise in Benin City, MM2 Hall, has been officially opened by the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of MM2 Enterprises Limited, Sir Emmanuel Nnanji, located at Kilometer 7, Benin-Lagos Expressway, Isiho, Benin City. The ceremony, which coincided with the 15th wedding anniversary celebration of Sir Emmanuel Nnanji and his wife, Lady Nora Nyediafo, attracted dignitaries including High Chief Kenneth Ifekudu, representative of the Speaker of Edo State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Blessing Agbebako, former Speaker of Delta State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Monday Igbuya, President of Ofobuike Intellectual Union, and other well-wishers. Ofere Aneta has details.
The official opening of the multi-purpose mall, which houses shopping, dining, and lifestyle outlet, was presided over by the parish priest of St. Albert Catholic Church, University of Benin, Reverend Father Jude Chika Anara.
Let the shopping mall open in the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Chairman on the occasion, High Chief Kenneth Ifekudu, congratulated the celebrants on the mall opening and their 15th wedding anniversary.
My friends and brothers who did not only turn 15 years in marriage, but is opening an edifice today to mark that anniversary. My prayers is that good thing will never depart in your home.
A major highlight of the event was the cutting of the anniversary cake by the Unaji family. In his remarks, CEO of MM2 Mall, Sir Emmanuel Ndanifo, and his wife, Lady Nora, described the mall as a one-stop marketplace where quality and affordability meet excellent customer service.
MM2 has evolved. We are looking for anything, quality, affordability, and good customer service. Come to MM2 Mall.
Today marks our 15th wedding anniversary and the opening of our new mall. So I'm very happy.
Guests also congratulated the couple and commended the initiative.
It's our 15 years of marriage. It's just the beginning. I wish him very, very many more years.
We are here to rejoice with him. And we thank God for everything he has done for the family
MM2 will be a household name in Benin City.
MM2 Mall is located at Kilometer 7, Benin-Lagos Expressway, Isio, Benin City. From Benin, Ofuri Aneta, ITV News.
Over 200 women in Edo State are being trained free for 2 weeks in basic computer literacy, PowerPoint presentation, setting up online businesses, and other aspects of ICT. The training is facilitated by Women, Our Voice Ventures, and Niger Delta Initiative is in collaboration with Edo State government through the Office of the First Lady, Edesili Opevolo Anani. Kinsley Uchego reports.
The week-long training is to equip participants with digital skills for entrepreneurship and productivity, with Edo State as the 26th state in Nigeria to host the free ICT program. Founder and national coordinator, Women, Our Voices, Our Votes, Dr. Mary Mena Akpoguma Okomose, said the empowerment aims to ensure that participants get the requisite skills in computing and ICT to increase their chances of employability and productivity.
When you have this basic knowledge, there are so many things you can do. So these will help the women create job opportunities for them, be self-reliant, be women that can take care of themselves and take care of their family and support their husbands. When you have these required skills in this country, you get what you want to get. You get the job positions, you get it.
A resource person, Jibril Lamar, said participants at the end of the day will be exposed to knowledge of different aspects of computing, creating social media accounts, and other ICT skills.
The 2 weeks training with an intensive assessment that would encompass everything that we have tutored them for the span of 10 days, which they are going to be graded and obviously given certificates at the end of the program.
Some of the participants comment on their expectations.
Being computer literate in the world that we are today, we're going to be useful to ourselves, useful to the society.
You can use it in business, in schools, anywhere you find yourself.
We've been able to learn what the hardware is and some part of the software of the computer. As we progress, we'll go further into it to learn more.
Outstanding trainees will be exposed to further training in robotics and other areas. The 2 weeks program also comes with a 3 months follow-up training to enable participants to be self-reliant. From Benin, Kingsley Uchebu, ITV News.
Madam Vero Ekua Idahoser has been described as a virtuous woman who was very impactful in her community, devoted and deeply rooted in family values while alive. Ibrahim Adedichi reports that dignitaries from all walks of life and family members poured the encomiums on the woman when they gathered to bid the final farewell at the climax of burial rites, which commenced with interment and followed by Thanksgiving service at New Covenant Gospel Church Potter's House, as well as social dance. The report is presented by Efosa Nwangwe.
At the Thanksgiving service of Madam Vero Ekua Idahoser, who passed on at the age of 78, Reverend Indidi Chukuman offered prayers and commended her children for the unity and strong bond among them, describing it as a reflection of the values instilled by their late mother.
Thank God for the grace given to you all to perform the rite of passage, perform it successfully.
A brother of the woman, Engineer Sunday Oriahi, described her as a very hard-working, strong character, while urging family members to uphold her legacies by remaining steadfast in the Christian faith.
My wish is that they continue with the legacy their father and their mother have left behind, because the mother most especially was a good Christian. Even the father, they both served the Lord.
Also speaking, the son, Samuyi Idahoser, described her late mother as a loving and exceptional woman, praying she rest in peace. Her daughter, Mrs. Grace Ogbefu, remembered her as a selfless and ever supportive, appreciating her sacrifices.
Kind and loving. In fact, I've never seen a sweet soul. I pray she will be found among the angels.
She's an easygoing woman, calm, God-fearing, always ready to assist and pray.
Honorable Nosa Okumbo spoke on the supremacy of a mother, thanking God for blessing her with good children and offering prayers for their lives and unity. Also speaking, Dr. Muyu Kazim urged the children to remain together and uphold their mother's legacy.
She means everything to us. We miss her greatly.
Very dedicated mother, very religious mother, loving and caring mother.
From Benin, Efosa Wangwe, ITV News.
And this is where we'll call it a wrap on the news update on Independent Television. Thank you so much for watching. I am Echoy Davis. Good morning.
ITV, certainly the best.
Good morning. Welcome. This is TMI Socials. I am Anuluwakbo Stevens. Or better still, call me your social media butterfly. Now, today we begin in Edo State, interestingly, where suspected kidnappers have reportedly shot dead a driver with the GUO transport and abducted an unspecified number of passengers during a violent attack on the Benin-Lagos Expressway. The attack said to have occurred along the Benin-Ore axis of the expressway surfaced in disturbing videos and eyewitness accounts shared on social media yesterday, with claims that armed men ambushed a commercial bus heading east, killed the driver and dragged passengers into the bush. Let's take a look at the video.
This is what is going on in Nigeria.
Reacting to this online, let's see what netizens have been saying. We'll start off with this user who wrote on X, "I can't imagine how scared the people inside the bus would feel. Several thoughts would have been going through their minds, like, what if we are next? Even the driver herself would be afraid. God, please deliver us." Another user still reacting to this viral video wrote, "It's really tragic to see this happening in Nigeria every day. Our government must take stronger actions against these terrorist groups." While still reacting to the story, this user wrote, "Then they will catch them and reintegrate them back into the society. SMH. Now, away from that, we move over to another viral video where this time around, former Kogi State lawmaker Senator Dino Melaye has declared that he would defeat President Bola Tinubu in a credible election, while stressing that his main focus is backing a united opposition candidate. Now, Melaye made a remark during an interview on Mike on Podcast where he criticized the current administration and expressed confidence in alternative candidates. Let's take a look.
Can actually win an election strategically as a politician.
My brother.
What pairing do you think could work best?
Anybody among those interested in presidency, in
ADC will do 1 million times better than Tinubu. There can never be a worse president than Tinubu. There can never be.
So Dino would defeat Bola Tinubu?
Me?
Dino Melaye?
Let's go. Let's go on a free and fair election.
You are
today.
Senator
Bola
Dino
Tinubu
Melaye
is the most unpopular politician in Nigeria.
So you can beat President Tinubu at the election?
Anopa, Anobole.
What is that?
I will beat him flat.
In Kogi?
He will not even stand up.
In Kogi or in FCT?
In the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
You are that popular?
Oh my God. Well, trust netizens users to drag Dino Melaye online with interesting comments and tweets. We'll start off with this one who wrote on X. This is the funniest interview I have ever seen in recent time. Watching Dino Melaye boasting and screaming to beat President Bola Tinubu flat in an election is so hilarious. How does he plan to achieve that? All the candidates in ADC with their chieftains put together can't achieve that. They are just obsessed with Tinubu. Another user reacting to the story wrote, sugar-coated mouth, is this not Dino that contested in Kogi State as a governor that did not even see second position? What did he achieve during the 2023 general election? Nothing. Only mouth and show off. Well, finally on the story, this user wrote, big talk is cheap. Winning elections isn't done on TV, it is done at grassroots. Someone who couldn't secure his own constituency now claiming he would defeat Bola Ahmed Tinubu nationwide. Oh my goodness, I'm sure Dino Melaye didn't see that coming. Anyway, away from that, we now head over to Abuja, where yesterday we saw retired police personnel and their families under the umbrella of the Police Retired Officer Forum of Nigeria blocked one of the gates of the presidential villa in Abuja in protest. Now, they are demanding the removal of Nigeria Police Force from the contributory pension scheme, which they described as fraudulent, illegal, inhumane, and obnoxious. Let's take a look.
I believe whatever they are telling him, the people who are close to him, they are telling him a wrong thing. But our presence here will make him to know definitely that we are suffering after serving 35 years.
Well, there you have it. After 35 years, and this is what they get. Reacting to this online, let's see what netizens have been saying. This user wrote, these are the people that paid the ultimate price of serving their country. Look what and how they are being repaid. Another user wrote on X, I have zero empathy for them. They both past and present are enablers of the situation we have found ourselves in. While still reacting to the story, this user wrote, this is the least people the government should be owing. I don't know why they keep doing this. Well, still staying in Abuja, in a now viral video, the Chief of Staff to President Bola Tinubu, Femi Gbajabiamila, has come under intense criticism while following viral remarks urging a member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Leke Abajide, to remain in the African Democratic Congress, that's the ADC, and scatter them. Take a listen.
4 years later, he went back to Kogi. He brought somebody else for the ADC. Honorable Abejide, I know you to be a committed party man. I know you to be a fighter. I know you to be someone who does not like to be cheated. So please, my charge to you is to stay in that same ADC. Fight them. Scatter them. Hold on to your party. Listen. Do not allow them. We like what you are doing. Continue. Don't mind the former governor said that you should come and join ADC. No. Stay in ADC. Win your re-election in ADC as you will. What's his name again?
Well, Well, the Real 2027 is on and running. Now, reacting to this online, let's see what you have been saying. We'll start off with this one, Haroldton X. You want to chase a landlord away from his house, and you're now wondering why the dog is trying to bite you. Go and get another party. Well, whatever that means, Wale. Another user on X wrote, this is the reason I never wanted Peter Obi to form any coalition, but he seems he is also a problem to himself. The same thing happened in Labour Party and also was one of the very reason he didn't win in 2023. I thought he would learn from it and register a new party to avoid this many loopholes. Now, finally on the story, this user says, is anyone surprised at this point? It's exactly what we have been saying. Questions around fair competition, influencing weakened position, and the health of the system. It's gone from compete versus oppose to influence versus undermine. Mine, oh mine. Anyway, on that note, to wrap up TMI Socials this morning, thank you so much for being a part of the show. I am Nuoluwakbo Stevens. On behalf of the team in Lagos, Abuja, and here in Edo State, we'll see you again tomorrow. Please stay safe.